guys, welcome along to my kitchen for this afternoon. I thought that what we might do is we will show you how to make raspberry wild orange truffles. Sit down. So these are some of my most favourite treats, raw treats, and I'm making these up on a Sunday afternoon so that I've got them for the week, but I'm also going to share some with my neighbour. And in this, what I'm going to do is I'll do it in two parts. Because I'm going to show you how to do the chocolate as well, a little bit different to what's in the recipe that I sometimes share. So in here I've got a cup of raw cashews and I've soaked them a little bit. And the reason you soak them is because you want to get the coating off, which is often what prevents people from being able to actually digest nuts. Sometimes you've got to soak them. With some nuts, if you still want them to be crunchy, you can dehydrate them, or you can put them in the oven and just dry them out as well. So cashews are also one of my puppy's favourite things. That's why they're jumping up and down. So in the high-speed powered processor unit, so for me Thermomix, you put your cashews, which is cool. Then we use medjool dates. Now I didn't have any medjool dates today, so I've just used dried dates, which is okay. Just make sure that you have a look at where your dried dates come from, and that it's just dates that are in them, because some of the ones that you buy from the shop, they've got other extra ingredients and you don't need that. So we use medjool dates because they're soft and they are full of moisture and goodness, and they're fresh, right? So what I've done to plump these dates up is I've soaked them in warm water, and I'm going to keep some of the water in here. So we've got, normally you have 8 to 10 medjool dates, so I've got about 12 dried dates in here, and I want to keep the water too. So we'll mix all this together. Now we have a cup of frozen raspberries, very important. And then 2 cups of desiccated, I've got shredded coconut, but 2 cups of desiccated coconut. And again, make sure that you get the organic stuff that's not sweetened. The idea is that this is like a power food, or this is something that's really, really good for you. It's a beautiful sweet treat. I got the recipe initially from doTERRA Chef, and I've just modified it slightly so that it matches what I like. But I love it and people love it too. So what we're going to do in a minute is I'm going to blitz all this up, and then I'm just going to roll balls, and then we'll stick them in the freezer. And while they're in the freezer, we'll make the raw cacao, or the chocolate, which is really decadent, and that's what you coat the balls in, and it makes them delish. Anyway, so we'll put in 2 cups of desiccated coconut. I'll have a little bit less than that. Now we need some wild orange. This one I use doTERRA's wild orange for. Wild orange essential oil comes from the rind of the fruit, not the flesh. And wild orange, or orange, is very uplifting, but it's also really, really good for your cellular system. And orange, as you know, vitamin C, right? Your essential oil is from the plant, and you want to make sure it's therapeutic grade or food grade essential oil. So you'll find a lot of them will have that on there. This one in particular tells you that it's for flavouring use. So that means it's good, right? Smells delicious. So we want 4 drops of these. 1, 2, 3, 4. It's okay if a little bit more comes out. But yeah, we want 4 drops of the orange flavoured oil. You ideally want some vanilla paste, but I didn't have vanilla paste, so I'm using homemade vanilla essence, which is vodka, of course, homemade vodka, with some vanilla bean in it, and it's been soaking in it for a bit. So the paste is often a lot stronger, so I'll just put a bit in. The vanilla essence is there as, you know, your semi-sweetener, because you've got sweetener in your chocolate as well. Just I use rice malt syrup, but you could use maple syrup. And we just want a pinch of salt. So with any of your flavours, you sort of want to balance out the sweet with the savoury, especially in raw foods and stuff. So I've been learning. Alright, so all the ingredients are in there to make the ball. So now all we've got to do is turn it on. So this is going to be a bit noisy, but it's all good. Now you want this to be really firm and held together. If you find Yeah, so we've got a little bit more to go. So we're just going to scrape down the sides and I'll blitz it again. If you find that it's, because you want it to hold together, right? This is like a raw treat. These are balls that you're going to roll them into. They're truffles, wild orange and raspberry truffles. So you want everything to mix really well. It's also why you soak your dates and stuff. So I shall just give it another blitz. I hope that you've had an awesome day. It's like nearly the end of the day here, and or actually it's not nearly the end of the day here. It's only like 3:30, but I'm stuffed. So I'll just put that sounds better. Yep, perfect. Okay, so I'm going to show you what it looks like, and then we'll roll it into a ball. And I will come back with your chocolate recipe. So, this is what you end up with, right? It's nice and it's juicy, firm. You could see how you can almost form it into a ball already. Now, to make the balls, what I actually do is roll it with a spoon and then roll it with my hands. And you just want to roll it all out into little balls, just bite size, and then pop that in the freezer and leave it in the freezer for a little bit while you make your chocolate. Okay, back for the chocolate side of things. So I'll post the recipe up in the comments for this one. But I just wanted to show you, it's actually quite liquid and quite glossy because it's been heated. It's raw cacao powder, cacao butter, a sweetener of your choice. So I use rice malt syrup. Often I use maple syrup, and some coconut oil. And what we've done is over the break, I popped the balls into the freezer, so they're now nice and hard. And then all we do, or all I do, is just dip them into the chocolate. Now you need to do a few dips. So this is your first go through. And you'll see how it just coats it, which is really, really cool. Pop it back on the tray because then they're going to go back in the freezer just to set for a little bit, and then they have their second coat on there. So I'll my chocolate didn't work out quite the way that I wanted it to the first time through, so I'm going to have another look for my recipe that I know works because I've made these multiple times, and that's the recipe that I'll share with you. It gives it a really nice dark rich coating, which is quite bitter, and the bitterness of the raw cacao balances out the sweetness from the raspberries really well. And what you're left with is a raw treat that actually tastes like cherry ripes. And if you leave them out of the fridge, out of the freezer just for a tad, and they can defrost before you eat them, you end up with the gentle pieces, or the soft pieces of the raspberries as well, which makes it taste really, really yum. So raw cacao is really good for us. It is quite bitter in comparison to cocoa powder, and that's because there's no sweetener added. And it's really good for us in terms of craving. It's got a really high magnesium, also quite high in potassium. So if you are someone who has to be on a low potassium diet, please check with your doctor or your nutritionist, whoever it is that you're working with in terms of your diet, just to find out how much raw cacao you actually can have, if any at all. The balls also have dates in them, so that also for some people on certain diets can be a bit of a no-no. So again, just double check, but for the majority of us, these raw treats are actually really, really good for us, and they help with cravings. They help support you if you're having cramps. That for women, they're really good for, raw cacao is really good for your hormones. So I'm just going to pop that lot in the freezer and get the other ones out to coat them as well. So it makes quite a large batch, the blend that I've got. And then just with your leftover chocolate afterwards, so this has no flavour in it, and what I'll do is once I've coated these twice, 2 or 3 times, I like a really thick chocolate coating, then I will often put peppermint or spearmint into the leftover raw cacao and make myself just some raw chocolates to have in the freezer to get out and snack on whenever I feel like I need it, instead of having the chocolate in the cupboard. Now, the reason you need to keep your treats in the fridge or the freezer is because otherwise it will melt. So yeah, make sure you do that. The cacao butter does help to stabilise a little bit, which means that they will last out of the fridge a tad bit longer than normal if you use a raw chocolate recipe, which is coconut oil, no cacao butter, so coconut oil, cacao powder and a sweetener, you will actually find that your chocolates won't be as stable outside of the fridge. So you sort of can't make these ones and take them on the road with you unless you're going to stick them in your fridge in your car or keep them in the esky next to the ice. And yes, these are our raspberry wild orange truffles, which taste delicious and very much like cherry ripes. So having a few technical difficulties with these ones today, but I hope that you try the recipe out and that you really enjoy it. I've combined 2 or 3 different recipes for this one. So originally I got them from the recipe from the doTERRA chef, and I purchased their ebook, and they also have some really yummy rum balls and all that sort of stuff as well. And the chocolate recipe, I often use the plain chocolate recipe from Cacao Addict, which is John Croft's book, or Shanty Star, and you can find him on Facebook as well. Otherwise, yeah, it's just an adaptation as you go along. So the beauty with raw food cooking is that you are learning how to balance your flavours depending on your preferred taste. So make sure that you taste test along the way. Everything is good for you, remember, but it doesn't mean that you can sit there and eat the whole lot all at once. Although I have had a friend who house sit for me and she nearly did that with the tangerine nut balls that I make. They're really delicious as well. And there's also a sunflower praline bark, so that's sunflower seeds, and it's actually quite salty, so it's a bit of a savoury dessert, that one. But yeah, enjoy, have fun, eat as many as you like, but remember, don't eat them all at once, and look after yourself. See ya.